The world of smartphones nowadays is very busy, but it's not particularly unique or innovative. Every single phone we've seen has a notch on the front, and barring a few manufacturers like Samsung or HTC, pretty much every phone looks identical. I don't see why Supersaf is wrong with his tweet here, because if you look at a phone front on without the display on with no branding, it looks like a generic phone from any company, which sort of makes all of this boring. But over this notch trend, we've had some manufacturers push to make the notch smaller, and I don't know why. I mean, the iPhone came with sort of the most substantial notch out there and made it mainstream. People started copying it, but what they don't know is the Essential phone did it first, and it was a very, very small notch. And now Android manufacturers are trying to move to the smaller notch. So it would have been better if they just moved directly to the smaller notch instead of copying Apple. But anyways, what I'm saying is Chinese manufacturers, in particular Oppo, is pushing towards this new liquid drop style notch. And I don't think it's a bad idea. But I say Oppo because OnePlus is most closely related to Oppo. Over the past couple of years, we've seen OnePlus borrow many of Oppo's features and add some of their own to make the new OnePlus smartphone. And I think the same is going to happen with the upcoming OnePlus 6T. But before we talk about the OnePlus 6T and what's leaked so far, to all those OnePlus 6 owners, this is a pretty big boot in the face. I mean, for your phone to be labeled old in just 6 months would really disappoint me. And I don't know why OnePlus is doing this sort of 6-month upgrade thing. They could have two different series like what the Galaxy Note and the Galaxy S series does, but I don't think the whole 6-month cycle makes sense in my opinion. But enough of that. The 6T packaging has been leaked, and from what we see, we do see the liquid drop style notch on the top of the phone. And number two, we also see a fingerprint scanner graphic embedded into the display of the OnePlus 6T. So I think OnePlus is going all high tech here and going for the on-screen or in-screen fingerprint scanner on their new OnePlus 6T, which is a massive step and a great way to market their new phone. I've seen this done on the Vivo Next S. I've had a chance to use the phone for a couple of hours, and from what I experienced, the fingerprint scanner was great. It wasn't inaccurate, it did recognize another finger as being correct, and it was almost as fast as a traditional sort of conventional fingerprint scanner. But with the trend shifting towards face unlock anyway, I think OnePlus can get away with this slower fingerprint scanner. And I don't know, maybe OnePlus will be able to make it as fast as a conventional one, but the AMOLED screen that they use already on many OnePlus devices will make it much easier for them to sort of embed it, because the in-screen fingerprint scanner only works with AMOLED displays. Another thing that OnePlus has sort of consistently got away with is the whole Full HD Plus screen on their phones. This is the way they cut massive costs, and I get why they do it. The Full HD Plus screens look great in my opinion, but I think just how they've gotten away with using that lower resolution, even though it doesn't make much of a difference, I think they can get away with the inbuilt or in-screen fingerprint scanner because it doesn't make much of a difference in unlocking the phone. Where I don't see the phone changing all too much is in the software and the internal processing department. Oxygen OS on the OnePlus 6 and previous OnePlus phones is great. It's snappy, responsive, smooth. It's pretty much almost the best feeling Android experience, barring stock Android of course. And I don't think they have to change anything. They've got gesture-based navigation support as well, which will obviously come with Android Pie, but this is just sort of an incremental feature of their software, and I think they don't have to change anything. And as far as the CPU on board goes, the Snapdragon 845 processor is a no-brainer. Every single flagship we've seen so far has had it, and the newer 850 or 855 processor won't still be available for OnePlus to use when the phone is about to come to the market, so I don't think they're going to go with that one. 845 on board, 6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM, and probably up to 256 gigabytes of storage. Now, with the Galaxy Note 9 coming with 512 gigabytes of storage and it being particularly popular in Asia, I don't know if OnePlus will go for a 512 gigabyte variant. It's sort of skeptical, but maybe they could do a 256 gigabyte variant with a micro SD card. Who knows, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't think they're going to do the micro SD card, but that's just a wish from my side. Another thing I would really love OnePlus to keep on board is the headphone jack. I know it's become redundant on many phones, but I think the headphone jack just serves as a way of convenience for you to use pretty much any headphone lying around at home to listen to music wherever and whenever you want, instead of relying on a dongle or relying on proprietary headphones that you get from the smartphone's boxes. I just don't think that is very convenient as of right now, and I'm not a fan of using wireless headphones as such. And while we are in the topic of discussing things I would also like to see IP68 water and dust resistance certified on the OnePlus 6T. It is a very, very tough thing to do for manufacturers because they have to pay a lot, and with how OnePlus is based on sort of lower market prices, I don't know if they can, or if consumers are willing to pay the extra however many dollars to ensure that their phone is IP68 certified. I don't know. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Would you pay more for a OnePlus device for it to be IP rated, or are you fine with the semi sort of resistance you get with the OnePlus 6? In the comments down below. But what I think are very probable upgrades are in the camera as well as in the battery. So let's start off with the camera. The dual sensors on the OnePlus 6 were absolutely phenomenal. I loved using them, and they came really close to flagship phones during the day and maybe not so much during the night, but I think that's where they can improve. A 12 megapixel primary camera with a variable aperture seems to be the talk of the town, f1.5 and f2.4, and a 20 megapixel secondary camera. There's also talk of a depth sensor or a 3D sensor to ensure that portraits are better looking, and augmented reality does play a part with this phone, and I think maybe even a triple camera setup could be on the cards. The Oppo R17 Pro has 3 cameras, and going by the trends of what OnePlus seems to like to borrow, they borrow a fair few things from Oppo, and if they do borrow the triple camera setup, it could be a great way to improve the camera experience and make it a step beyond the OnePlus 6, and I think that's a good move. I think that's where the phone is lacking now. In terms of speed, they've got it nailed. The camera is where the majority of the improvements need to come, and with Oppo already doing it, I don't see why not the OnePlus 6T cannot bring a triple camera setup. For battery though, I think the OnePlus 6 is a bit far behind. It's got a 3300 mAh battery, which is not great considering many flagships nowadays have up to 4000 mAh of juice. I know they have their own dash charging, which charges the phone in a very, very quick manner, very convenient for many OnePlus owners. But if they really want to step it up, I think they're gonna go for a much larger battery, 3500, maybe even 4000 mAh to compete with the likes of the Note 9 and the Huawei series. I don't really know if that's gonna be a possibility or if that's gonna make the phone a bit thicker. But if they do go for it, I think the OnePlus 6T would be a very radical upgrade over the OnePlus 6, and maybe they're a bit skeptical in doing that. They want the T variant to be not as radical and not make the OnePlus 6 seem completely redundant. But the 6T with the battery, with the camera upgrades, looks to be a good phone. And last but not least is pricing. Over the years, we've seen OnePlus improve their products radically, but at the same time charge consumers more. So with all of these new features coming to the 6T, and if they do come out to be the real deal, I think the OnePlus 6T will be no short of $550, maybe even pushing to $600, and that translates to around 2,200 dirhams if you're in the Middle Eastern market, which is pushing the flagship territory if you ask me. What's interesting is that we've seen the Poco F1 from Xiaomi just blow everyone out of the water with their aggressive pricing style, so who knows, maybe OnePlus has a surprise in store for us. But I think that sums up the phone nicely. Expect to hear more things in the coming weeks and months leading up to the launch of the phone, which could be around the late November period, closing in on the holiday season. This will be the first time that the OnePlus 6 or any OnePlus device actually is sold with a carrier in the US. those are the rumors as well. I'm not sure if that's going to be a reality, but if it is, it's going to push it to even more markets. But if you take my word for it, and many people who do actually buy a OnePlus device, I think you should go for the unlocked version because it just makes everything a lot easier and cheaper. But if you are tied into a contract with T-Mobile, for example, I think taking it on a contract would make sense. But that's all from me. Thank you guys for watching. Keep updated with me on social media, links down in the description. If there's anything that I would like to add to this video, I will post it on social media. And if there's a huge upgrade or a huge change to what the OnePlus 6T might be shaping up to be, I will follow up with another video. So subscribe for more. I will see you guys hopefully in my next one. Thank you guys for watching, and adios.